10 games that will shape the college football season. Okay, I didn't say the 10 most important games or most impactful games or biggest rivalries. These are the games that are really going to shape the season, shape the playoff, shape everything that we've got going in college football because there's so much going on. Just think about what we're going to encounter once we start kicking things off here this fall. We've got conference realignment, and we got a new playoff. Those things are going to be wild. We're going to have matchups that we've never really seen before in conference play, and we're going to have conferences like the Big Ten and the SEC vying for that fourth, maybe even fifth spot in the college football playoff. We're going to have conferences like the ACC and the Big 12 vying to get, obviously, their champion, but also like a second. Can we get a second into the playoff? So all of these games that I'm about to talk about are going to shape all of those things, the college football season. Let's get into it. I'm going to go in chronological order, okay? So this is not level of shaping or interest or so on and so forth. This is just chronological order. As we move through the season, here's the games that are going to shape everything that we talk about. Week 1, Sunday, September 1st, USC and LSU in Las Vegas. That's the first matchup. An early Big Ten SEC matchup that could have huge ramifications, obviously, in the two super conferences in their battle for those few playoff spots that are inevitably going to pop up in terms of those at-large spots. I think USC and LSU are pretty similarly positioned within their conferences, which is a bit of an unknown. Okay, we believe in their coaches. They've got great track record and history. We believe in their locations. They've got great track record and history at each of those schools and programs. And yet, we still don't know in this new iteration of these conferences, where are they going to be at? Where are they going to be at? Are they going to be a top 3 team in their conference? 4, 5, 6? Where do they fall in this new conference? Each of these teams are in that predicament. So let's just think about this for a moment, shaping the season. What happens if USC goes out there and wins this game? All right, well, then you start thinking about changes the complexion of the Big Ten race. Now you start thinking about the Big Ten as a 4, 5, 6 team league, a deep conference. All of a sudden, the perception, not that it's one way now, but the perception would start to build for the Big Ten. They would have that marquee win in the non-conference. It would be really important if you're getting down to those few playoff spots at the end. We've always said, and I continue to say it during the course of this offseason, Lincoln Riley, that guy right there over my right shoulder, those of you watching on YouTube, if he gets a defense, how good can he be? How good can he be? I know that they're losing Caleb Williams. I understand that. But it hasn't mattered who's been the quarterback for Lincoln Riley. That quarterback is going to be one of the better players in the country. And I saw firsthand Miller Moss in that Holiday Bowl. I thought he was pretty good. I really did. And he's got excellent players around him. Zachariah Branch. I mean, my goodness, right? Like, they're going to be fine offensively. So it comes down to D'Anton Lynn. He brings that Ravens background to USC. He was excellent at UCLA last year. If they get any bit of defense, they will be a tough out. Now you ask yourself, like, LSU, what happens if they win? Well, they've got to replace Jaden Daniels, 2 first-round receivers, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, and their offensive coordinator, Mike Denbrock. So there's a lot going on at LSU. These two defenses, by the way, USC and LSU, they were not very good. They were horrible defenses. They both changed coordinators. If LSU wins, then you start to play out their schedule. They should be 5-0 when Ole Miss comes to Death Valley in October. Their third hardest game on the schedule then are at home. Ole Miss, their 3 hardest games, sorry. Ole Miss, Bama, and OU in the finale. So now if you can beat USC, now all of a sudden LSU starts having that path towards those at-large playoff spots. That game is going to be a huge game when we're talking about shaping the college football season. So that's week 1, September 1st, USC and LSU. Week number 2, this is a big one. Huge. Texas at Michigan. By the way, that game's going to be on Big Noon on Fox. Gus, Ginny, and I will be there to call the game. The fellas will be there with Big Noon kickoff, and we're going to have Texas at Michigan. Steve Sarkisian brings the Texas Longhorns up to face the defending national champion, who barely resembles themselves, at least as the personnel goes. Remember, everybody is different. Nothing has changed. at Michigan. At least that's what they hope. This is another Big Ten SEC conference matchup. By the way, there's 4 of these this year. If you're looking towards these matchups in these conferences for, let's say, that 4th or even 5th spot in the playoff, you've got USC LSU, which I just talked about. This game, Texas Michigan. You've got Alabama Wisconsin. By the way, that's a big noon game as well. We'll be there for that one in Madison. And you've also got LSU and UCLA. You can see it like these first 2 that I'm talking about, they're the ones that are really going to carry the weight. This Texas Michigan game, like, for number one, it's going to shape the season because we're going to figure out what Michigan is all about. We're going to find out. They have run the Big Ten now for 3 years. They just won the national championship. They are at the top of college football, and we will find out if they're even close to that day with Sharon Moore, their new head coach. Now, I really like Sharon Moore. I've known him for a long time, and this is the guy for the job. There's not a doubt in my mind, but they have got to replace so many great leaders on that team. Selfless players like Mike Sainrissil, you just saw hugging Sharon Moore, like Blake Corum, the running back, who was just incredible, not only on the field, but off. They've recruited pretty well, but they've developed even better. Can they continue to develop? What is their offense going to look like? Is it going to be Alex Orji at quarterback? We might not know. Even at that point, Donovan Edwards is back. Kalel Mullings is back in the run game. Colston Loveland is back at tight end. Their defense has one of the best defensive lines in the country. Kenneth Grant up there with Mason Graham. They are combined the 2 best defensive tackles in college football. So it's not going to be easy for Texas. I think that the narrative right now in the offseason is that Texas is going to roll up there. They're more talented. They got their quarterback, Quinn Ewers, and they're just going to beat Michigan. All right, let's just pose this question for a moment. What happens if Michigan beats Texas? That would be pretty wild. I think people aren't expecting that. What happens if they do it? You know, the boa constrictor. What happens if the boa constrictor is still around and they still can run the football and they still play great defense and they rush the quarterback? You know, all of those things I think would be interesting, and then that would reshape the college football year as we are thinking about it now. Because right now, and I'm including myself in this, I don't hold Michigan in my top 4 in college football right now in the offseason. Now, if they were to beat Texas, that changes immediately, again, shaping the season. And then if Texas is able to go in there and defeat the defending national champion, we would again know that they are at the top of the sport, just like their win against Alabama last year in Tuscaloosa. It would be eerily similar at that point, kind of announcing that it's like, hey, we're not going anywhere. Texas is back. They're going to have an incredible offensive line, maybe one of the best in the country. Great skill positions, obviously, and Quinn Ewers. Now, I've got questions about their defense. Losing their defensive tackles, and losing those defensive tackles, what happens if Michigan runs it 52 times? It's going to be a great game. Again, shaping the college football season. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.